One day you glanced at the mirror. Tired eyes, a lifeless face, and a haunting question echoed in your mind. Why am I living like this? What do I really want? That moment of clarity was enough to stir something within you, a realization that things needed to change. It wasn't about fixing everything outside. It was about finding strength and purpose from within. That's where the journey to build a resilient inner self begins. I used to live for everyone else's expectations, always striving to please those around me. The decisions I made, what I did, where I went, even the food I ate, weren't my own. Let's go where you like, I'd say to friends, never asking myself, what do I like? Over time, the fatigue and emptiness consumed me. But here's what I realized. The pressure didn't come from others, it came from forgetting myself entirely. If this sounds familiar, you're not alone. Today's video is your guide to rediscovering your true self, using timeless Stoic wisdom that's as relevant now as it was centuries ago. We'll explore practical steps to build resilience, find purpose, and navigate life's challenges with clarity and strength. Stay until the end, because the strategies we'll uncover could change the way you see yourself and the world. And if you found your way back to yourself or have insights that worked for you, share them in the comments. Your story might be the spark someone else needs to transform their life. 1. Building a strong inner self. A strong inner self is the cornerstone of resilience. Without it, we are like a house built on shifting sand, vulnerable to every storm life throws our way. The Stoics believed that true strength comes from within, a deeply rooted understanding of who we are, what we value, and how we choose to navigate the world. They taught us that we cannot control external events, but we can always control our responses. This ability to remain steady despite chaos begins with cultivating an unshakable core. In life, challenges and betrayals are inevitable. I once believed that my value was tied to how much I could please others. Every decision I made revolved around their happiness, never mine. Then one day, someone I trusted betrayed me in a way I never expected. I realized that I wasn't valued as a person, I was merely convenient for their ego. That betrayal shattered my confidence. I fell into a spiral of self-doubt, questioning whether anything I believed in was even worth holding on to. But in the depths of that crisis, I came across the wisdom of Marcus Aurelius. You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. Those words forced me to confront a hard truth. My suffering wasn't just caused by the betrayal. It was also rooted in how I had allowed myself to be defined by others' perceptions. My inner self was weak, and that made me susceptible to their manipulation. Building a strong inner self is not about hardening yourself or becoming indifferent to the world. It is about creating a foundation so secure that you can stand firm no matter what happens around you. This inner strength allows you to detach from the chaos, focus on what you can control, and find clarity even in the most challenging moments. When betrayal leaves you reeling, as it did me, start with reflection. Write down your feelings, not to dwell on the pain but to understand it. Identify the ways you've placed your happiness in the hands of others. This awareness is the first step toward reclaiming your inner strength. The Stoics practiced journaling for this very reason. It creates space to examine emotions and thoughts without being consumed by them. To build a strong inner self, adopt daily practices that anchor you. Meditation, mindfulness, or even something as simple as a morning routine can help. Picture yourself as a tree. The wind may bend your branches, but your roots remain firm. Each day, ask yourself, what truly matters to me? Let the answers guide your actions and your boundaries. Over time, this foundation becomes unshakable. It empowers you to face challenges with calm and clarity, rather than fear and confusion. The betrayal I experienced taught me that a strong inner self is not a luxury. It is a necessity. Without it, we live at the mercy of external forces. But with it, we gain the courage to embrace life on our terms. As Seneca reminds us, he who is brave is free. Build your inner strength, and you will find not just freedom, but resilience, the ability to endure, adapt, and thrive no matter what comes your way. 2. Turning anxiety into action. Fear often masquerades as a wall, an impenetrable barrier standing between us and our goals. But the Stoics saw fear differently, not as an obstacle, but as a teacher. Courage, they believed, was not the absence of fear, but the resolve to act in spite of it. Marcus Aurelius said, "If you are distressed by anything external, the pain is not due to the thing itself, but to your estimate of it. And this you have the power to revoke at any moment." Fear signals an opportunity to grow, yet so often we let it hold us back. I have always wanted to improve my health and fitness. Every day I'd think about going to the gym, but the thoughts that followed stopped me in my tracks. What if I look foolish? What if I don't know how to use the equipment? What if others laugh at me? These fears were a constant echo in my mind. Instead of confronting them, I chose the safer path. I worked out at home. But deep down, I knew it wasn't enough. Every glance in the mirror reminded me that I wasn't making real progress. The fear hadn't disappeared. It had grown, looming larger each time I avoided it. One morning, as I scrolled through my phone, I saw a close friend post a photo of himself at the gym with the caption, "6-month journey. Not easy, but worth it." A pang of jealousy hit me, but alongside it came a spark of determination. If he can do it, why can't I? That question ignited something within me. Instead of giving in to the fear, I decided to face it head-on. I walked into the gym later that day, heart pounding, yet resolved. Each moment was uncomfortable, but I kept moving forward. The Stoics teach us that fear often resides in the mind rather than in reality. By anticipating challenges and preparing for them, we strip fear of its power. Seneca called this practice premeditation malorum, visualizing the worst that could happen so you can meet it with readiness and composure. Before stepping into the gym, I practiced this. I imagined myself feeling out of place, fumbling with equipment, and even being judged. But then I imagined something else, getting through it, growing stronger, and being proud of myself for trying. With every imagined failure, I also visualized a recovery. This mindset allowed me to act despite my anxiety. If you're battling fear, remember this: it's not a signal to retreat, but a nudge toward something greater. Start by breaking the fear down into manageable pieces. What exactly are you afraid of? How much of it is rooted in reality, and how much is imagined? Once you've identified the source, confront it in small steps. My first visit to the gym wasn't perfect, but it was a step, and each step after that became easier. Fear doesn't go away when ignored, it festers. But when faced, it transforms into fuel for growth. Every moment you confront your fear, you chip away at its power and replace it with courage. By seeing fear as a guide rather than a barrier, you unlock a path to resilience and self-discovery. Just as I overcame the fear of judgment, so too can you conquer the fears holding you back. Take that first step, however small, and begin the journey to freedom. 3. Finding strength in detachment. There's a quiet power in letting go. Detachment is not about abandoning responsibility or giving up on life. It's about freeing yourself from the weight of things you cannot control. The Stoics called this the dichotomy of control. Focus only on what is within your power and let the rest slip away like water through your fingers. Epictetus famously said, "Some things are up to us and some things are not." Wisdom lies in knowing the difference. One day, as I sat in a bustling coffee shop, surrounded by the hum of conversations and the clinking of cups, I glanced at my phone. Notifications, unanswered calls, and a mountain of tasks stared back at me. The weight was suffocating. I had been carrying expectations that weren't mine, obligations that drained my energy, and fears that left me paralyzed. The realization hit like a wave. Why am I holding on to all of this when it's breaking me? In that moment, I decided to try letting go. Not out of neglect, but to reclaim the strength I had lost. At first it felt strange. I said no to invitations I didn't want to attend. I set boundaries with people who had long expected me to prioritize their needs over my own. There was guilt, even fear. But beneath those emotions, I felt a spark of something I hadn't experienced in years: relief. Detachment is not easy. When you let go, you often face loneliness. People drift away when you stop bending to their will. The silence that follows can be deafening, but in that silence lies an opportunity, a chance to rediscover yourself. I began to fill the empty spaces with meaningful activities, walks in nature, books I had always wanted to read, and moments of quiet reflection. The more I leaned into solitude, the more I realized it wasn't loneliness, it was freedom. The Stoics believed that detachment allows us to see clearly. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. When we detach from the opinions of others, the fear of failure, or the weight of obligations that aren't ours, we gain clarity. We see what truly matters and can redirect our energy toward pursuits that align with our values. Detachment also builds resilience. By stepping back, you create space to breathe, think, and respond wisely, rather than reacting impulsively. When I began this journey, I feared judgment. People noticed the changes. A friend once asked, "Why aren't you as active on social media? You seem different." I smiled and replied, "Yes, I am, and I've never felt better." That response didn't come from defensiveness, but from a deep sense of peace. If you find yourself overwhelmed by the expectations of others or the weight of responsibilities, start small. Write down what's truly within your control. Focus on those things and let the rest go. The process might feel uncomfortable at first, but with practice, it becomes a habit, a way of life. As you cultivate detachment, you'll notice a transformation. The things that once felt urgent and pressing will lose their grip on you. You'll stand stronger, guided by your values, and no longer tethered by unnecessary burdens. Remember Epictetus' wisdom. True freedom comes from mastering what lies within your power. Let go, and you'll discover a strength you never knew you had. 4. Rediscovering your purpose. After you've unburdened yourself from the weight of expectations, a new challenge emerges. What now? The silence left by letting go of old habits and relationships can feel unsettling. You begin to question, why am I doing all this? What is the real meaning of my life? This moment, while daunting, is a turning point. It's not a crisis, but an opportunity to rediscover your purpose and start living authentically. When we step away from the noise of societal expectations, we often realize how much of our lives were lived for others. Whether it's fulfilling obligations we never truly embraced or chasing goals set by someone else, the absence of these pressures can leave a void. But within this void lies a chance for clarity. As Marcus Aurelius once reflected, the happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts. Purpose isn't found in external validation. It begins with introspection. You start by reflecting on the moments that made you feel alive. Those times when joy felt effortless and real. For me, it was the quiet satisfaction of completing a project that truly mattered. The glow of helping someone without expecting anything in return, and the deep connection found in meaningful conversations. These were moments when I wasn't trying to prove anything. They weren't loud or grand. They were honest and mine. Purpose doesn't reveal itself all at once. It's a gradual unfolding. I remember sitting with a notebook, asking myself questions that demanded honesty. What do I love most about life? If no one judged me, what would I do? What makes me feel fulfilled? The answers didn't come immediately, but they began to surface over time like light breaking through a dense fog. Stoicism teaches us that living in alignment with our nature is essential for a meaningful life. As Epictetus said, first, say to yourself what you would be, and then do what you have to do. The purpose is not a singular fixed point. It evolves as we grow. What matters is not finding a grand mission overnight, but starting with small, meaningful actions that resonate with our inner values. For example, volunteering for a cause that aligns with your principles or dedicating time to learn a skill you've always wanted to master can reignite your sense of purpose. These aren't monumental leaps, they're steps, and each one builds on the last. With every action rooted in sincerity, the path becomes clearer and life begins to feel more authentic. On this journey, you'll discover that purpose isn't about perfection or arrival. It's a living, breathing process, a reflection of the person you are becoming. What you value today may change tomorrow, and that fluidity is part of the beauty. The Stoics understood this deeply, emphasizing the importance of progress over perfection. As you walk this path, you'll realize it's not about having all the answers, but about asking the right questions and allowing your actions to align with your values. In rediscovering your purpose, you find not just direction, but also fulfillment. You learn to appreciate the journey, knowing that every step, every moment of growth brings you closer to a life lived fully and meaningfully. 5. Living with integrity. Imagine this. You used to pride yourself on being an honest person, someone who valued integrity above all. But as life progressed, you found yourself compromising in small ways. telling white lies to keep the peace, agreeing to things that felt wrong just to avoid confrontation. Over time, these small sacrifices began to erode your sense of self. Then one day, a critical moment arrives. At work, your manager suggests, "We need good results. Just tweak the numbers a little. No one will check." This request feels like a crossroads. Do you protect your job and comply, or do you stand firm in your belief in honesty, knowing it may cost you? That evening, you're consumed by the weight of the decision. The thought of altering the data feels like betraying yourself, but the fear of backlash makes the alternative equally daunting. Ultimately, you choose honesty. You submit the unaltered report, knowing it might not meet expectations. The next day, you're called into a meeting. The tension in the room is palpable. Your manager criticizes your decision, yet beneath the surface of discomfort, you feel something unexpected: relief. By standing firm, you've reclaimed a part of yourself you thought was lost. In the weeks that follow, you begin to make integrity a guiding principle, not just in big decisions, but in everyday interactions. You decline insincere invitations, set boundaries against responsibilities that don't align with your abilities, and speak up when something feels wrong. Life becomes simpler and lighter, even if it's not always easy. One day, a colleague approaches you. He shares a similar dilemma he faced, but admits he couldn't find the courage to act as you did. "I admire your perseverance," he says. In that moment, you realize that living with integrity doesn't just free you from internal conflict. It inspires others to examine their own choices. From a Stoic perspective, integrity is not negotiable. It's a core virtue that aligns with wisdom, justice, courage, and temperance. Marcus Aurelius often reflected on the importance of staying true to oneself, writing, "If it is not right, do not do it. If it is not true, do not say it." Honesty is not just about actions, but about living in harmony with your values, even when the external world challenges you. Applying this principle doesn't mean life will always reward you immediately. As Epictetus taught, the true reward is peace of mind, the inner clarity that comes from knowing you did the right thing. In practice, this clarity simplifies decision-making. You no longer wrestle with guilt or second-guess your actions. Instead, you move forward with confidence, knowing your choices reflect who you truly are. If you face a similar challenge, start by identifying your core values. Write them down and reflect on what they mean to you. When confronted with a difficult situation, ask yourself, does this align with my principles? If it doesn't, consider the cost, not just of acting against your values, but of what it might do to your sense of self. Choosing integrity may not always lead to easy outcomes, but it leads to a life of authenticity and peace. And as you live by this principle, you'll find that the ripple effects extend beyond yourself. By standing firm, you pave the way for others to find the courage to do the same. 6. Gratitude as a game changer. Gratitude is often underestimated in its ability to transform our mindset. In a world constantly pushing us to chase more success, more recognition, more possessions, it's easy to lose sight of what we already have. This restless pursuit can lead to dissatisfaction and anxiety. Stoic philosophy reminds us that content doesn't come from acquiring more, but from appreciating what we have. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "Do not indulge in dreams of having what you do not have, but reckon up the chief of the blessings you do possess, and then thankfully remember how you would crave for them if they were not yours." This perspective shifts our focus from lack to abundance. But how do we cultivate gratitude when life feels overwhelming? The first step is recognizing that gratitude is a practice, not a spontaneous feeling. Like any skill, it requires effort and consistency to develop. Gratitude isn't just about feeling good. It's about grounding ourselves in the present and finding stability amidst the chaos of daily life. I used to live in a constant state of dissatisfaction and stress. Every day felt like a race against time. My job wasn't as fulfilling as I wanted, my relationships felt shallow, and an emptiness lingered no matter how much I achieved. I would often think, why is life so unfair when I've tried so hard? One evening, scrolling mindlessly through social media, I stumbled upon an article discussing the power of gratitude. My initial reaction was skepticism, another empty cliché, I thought. But one question stayed with me. Have I ever truly felt grateful for anything in my life? That night, I decided to test this idea. I grabbed an old notebook and challenged myself to list 3 things I was grateful for that day. At first, it felt forced. I was so used to focusing on the negatives that finding positives felt unnatural. But after a few moments, I wrote, "Thank you for the warm sunshine today. Thank you for having a job, even if it isn't perfect. Thank you for being healthy." That small exercise brought an unexpected sense of relief. For the first time in weeks, my mind felt lighter. Encouraged, I committed to this practice for a week and then a month. Over time, it changed how I viewed my life. Challenges remained, but gratitude gave me the strength to face them with a clearer, calmer perspective. Stoicism teaches us that gratitude isn't about denying struggles or hardships, but about reframing them. When we focus on what we have rather than what we lack, we strengthen our emotional resilience and cultivate inner peace. Gratitude aligns with the Stoic virtue of wisdom, seeing life for what it truly is and appreciating its inherent value. If you feel stuck in negativity, start small. Each evening, list 3 things you're grateful for, no matter how trivial they seem. Gradually, this practice shifts your focus, helping you navigate stress and dissatisfaction with greater clarity. Over time, gratitude becomes a habit, grounding you in the present and fostering a deeper sense of fulfillment. Gratitude is more than a fleeting emotion. It's a deliberate practice that transforms how we experience life. By embracing this Stoic principle, we find stability amidst uncertainty, strength in adversity, and peace in the present moment. 7. Turning setbacks into opportunities. Failure has a way of shaking us to our core. It questions our abilities, challenges our resilience, and often leaves us doubting the path we chose. But what if failure wasn't the end of the road, but a critical step in the journey toward growth? Stoicism teaches us to view setbacks not as final judgments, but as opportunities to learn and adapt. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." This wisdom reminds us that even our failures hold the seeds of progress. Imagine you've just started a small business, pouring your heart and soul into every detail. For months, you sacrifice sleep, invest your savings, and work tirelessly to bring your vision to life. But the results don't meet your expectations. Instead of success, you face mounting losses, disappointment, and a lingering sense of shame. You find yourself asking, why did my efforts fail? Was I not good enough? One afternoon, while clearing out the remnants of your project, you stumble upon the notebook where your original ideas were born. Flipping through the pages, you see the enthusiasm and creativity you had when you began. A thought crosses your mind. Some of these ideas still have potential. Maybe I was just looking at this the wrong way. Instead of giving in to despair, you sit down and start analyzing. You ask yourself, what didn't work? What can I salvage? What did this failure teach me? Stoicism urges us to detach ourselves from the emotional weight of failure and instead approach it with logic and clarity. Failure is not a reflection of our worth. It's a teacher, guiding us to better methods and decisions. By dissecting the situation, you recognize that a particular aspect of your project resonated with your audience. Encouraged, you decide to focus on developing that one part. This small shift in perspective is transformative. You reach out to a friend who has experience in your field, seeking advice and constructive feedback. Their insights, combined with your newfound clarity, help you refine your idea. Instead of aiming for perfection, you approach the next phase as a series of experiments, testing, learning, and adjusting along the way. Stoicism also emphasizes the importance of patience and persistence. You accept that setbacks are part of the process. Each stumble brings new lessons, and each lesson brings you closer to a better version of your project. As your efforts begin to bear fruit, you find yourself wanting to share your story, not to boast, but to inspire. You talk about the initial failures, the struggles, and the invaluable lessons that led to success. This journey illustrates a fundamental Stoic principle, amor fati, or the love of fate. It's not just about accepting what happens to us, but embracing it as part of our growth. Failures are not barriers, but bridges, guiding us toward resilience and deeper understanding. For those facing setbacks, the key is to step back and reflect. Ask yourself, what did I learn? What can I do differently? How can I turn this into an opportunity? Remember, failure is not a verdict on your capabilities. It's a stepping stone toward mastery. By adopting this mindset, you'll find that every setback becomes a chapter in your story of triumph. 8. Inspiring change through quiet influence. Living a life of integrity does more than fortify your character. It becomes a beacon for others. When we align our actions with our values and live authentically, we naturally inspire those around us to reflect on their own choices. This quiet influence often speaks louder than grand speeches or overt efforts to persuade. It is through consistent, values-driven actions that we create ripples of change, fostering a community grounded in honesty, resilience, and mutual respect. Stoicism underscores the importance of leading by example. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one." This philosophy suggests that true leadership is not about telling others what to do, but showing them through your own behavior. By embodying virtues such as courage, justice, and integrity, you not only strengthen your inner self, but also encourage those around you to rise to their own potential. Think back to the moment in your journey when you chose to share your story about turning setbacks into opportunities. Perhaps you stood in front of a small group of peers, recounting the challenges you faced and how you reframed them into lessons. You might have felt nervous, wondering if anyone would care. Yet as you spoke, you noticed their expressions change. A colleague later approached you, saying, "Your story really resonated with me. I've been feeling stuck, but now I want to try again." This interaction is a testament to the power of quiet influence. Your decision to persevere, analyze your mistakes, and find a better path didn't just transform your own life, it became a catalyst for someone else's growth. Stoicism teaches us that while we cannot control others' reactions, we can control the example we set. By living with intention and resilience, we permit others to do the same. In a world dominated by social media and curated personas, authenticity stands out. People are drawn to those who live sincerely, unafraid to admit their flaws or share their struggles. Your willingness to be vulnerable, whether in sharing your failures or standing firm in your values, creates a space for others to reflect on their own lives without judgment. It is a subtle but profound way of building a community centered on growth and mutual understanding. The ripple effect of your actions may extend further than you imagine. A single act of integrity, like refusing to compromise your principles at work, can inspire a colleague to rethink their own choices. A story of overcoming failure might encourage someone to take the first step toward their dreams. These small but significant influences build momentum, gradually shaping a culture of resilience and authenticity. Living with integrity and inspiring change does not require grand gestures. It begins with small, consistent acts, showing kindness in difficult situations, standing by your principles, or simply listening without judgment. Each action reinforces your values and sets an example for others to follow. As you continue this journey, remember that true influence lies not in commanding attention, but in earning respect through authenticity. Stoicism reminds us that we cannot control how others respond, but we can control the life we lead. By doing so, we create a legacy not just of personal growth, but of communal strength. Through quiet influence, we transform not only ourselves, but also the world around us. As we come to the end of this journey together, let us reflect on the profound truths we've uncovered. Building a strong inner self, embracing courage, and living with integrity are not just ideals but daily practices. They are the foundation of resilience, the path to emotional clarity, and the key to finding peace amidst chaos. These lessons from Stoic philosophy remind us that we have the power to navigate life's storms with grace and purpose. Each moment of our lives presents an opportunity to practice these principles. Whether it's facing fear head-on, rediscovering our purpose, or finding strength in letting go of what no longer serves us, the choice is always ours. It is not about perfection but progress, taking one small step each day toward becoming the best version of ourselves. Imagine what your life could look like if you started applying even one of these lessons today. Picture the calm that comes from focusing only on what you can control, the clarity of knowing your values, and the strength of standing firm in them. These are not just abstract concepts, they are tools for living a life filled with meaning and fulfillment. I encourage you to practice these lessons daily. Write down what you're grateful for, take time to reflect on your values and let go of distractions that pull you away from your true purpose. Growth begins with small, consistent actions, and over time, these actions will transform your life. Now, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Have you faced moments where Stoic principles have guided you? Or perhaps you've been inspired to make a change after hearing today's lessons? Share your stories in the comments below. Your experiences may be the inspiration someone else needs to take their first step. Let's grow stronger together.